Hello, my fellow Brightonians and Hove-actuallys and people who just live in Sussex generally, and even if you don't, hi. My name is Robert, and I'm a Hove-actually, so if you live in Hove as well, then feel free to take my number. Just kidding. I'd like to thank BelongCon for inviting me to speak this evening. I'd particularly like to thank BelongCon for providing this microphone stand so that I can very easily look at my cheat sheets. So thank you, BelongCon, for that. So today I would like to encourage us all to build our confidence enough that we can take advantage and appreciate our contradictions and our complexity. I really hope this talk resonates with you all in some way by listening to my ramblings. One of the things I'd really love to stop people from doing is simplifying themselves down to, one single negative category, which we tend to do. We can be very reductive towards ourselves and forget about the whole. So I'd like to encourage everyone to appreciate their whole self. So just talking about my life right now, it's about as good as it's ever been. I'm in a really good place. I have really brilliant friends and great family. Everything is on point, really. And I, at this point, view myself as this sort of beautiful contradiction, a lot of mess that I've kind of embraced it, It's all good stuff. I haven't always been like this, though, and as Sophie said, it's really been quite a journey for me. In fact, it took a really, really long time. Today, I'm particularly going to be speaking about the contradictions which are introvert and extrovert, because these are the two contradictions that have dominated my life. So I would identify right now as an introvert and an extrovert. I'm both. I'm that contradiction. However, for the longest time, I reduced myself to a single negative quality. That was an introvert, and I hated being an introvert. I blamed it for everything, and I was like, I really wish I could be this extrovert, this outgoing person, amazing with communication. And so, as an introvert, I just thought, this is responsible for all my bad communication, and I'm now going to take you back in a time machine so I can explain some examples to you. So, I have to take you back to what I imagine is everyone's favourite time of their life, secondary school. So I was a hermit, and I spent a lot of time on the internet. I was quite addicted to the internet, to be honest. Nice escapism. I played a lot of video games. I have a massive collection. But I would go into school and just feel like this complete outsider. I didn't feel like I shared common interests with people at school. And so I felt like a fish out of water. And as many others will have experienced, I was bullied at school, and I wasn't perfect either. I definitely mistreated people, and that was just what my secondary school was like. But what this led to was that I had this really debilitating anxiety. So I was one of these people who was basically silent unless you spoke to me. I also had a number of sort of communication quirks. So one, I could write an entire thesis on all the bloody communication quirks I had over the years, but one in particular links back to secondary school. So picture this context. I've really struggled to talk to people generally, and then there's this one person who's generally really, really nice to me. It's like, oh, brilliant, maybe I can engage in a conversation with this person. And so this was after a class, and it was like, oh, okay, you did a really good performance in the last class, and I had initiated this conversation to just be met by someone just completely ignoring me. And back then, this was like a massive setback, because this was someone I thought, oh, wow, this is someone who's actually speaking to me. And they did it on purpose. And this led to then things like ramifications that continued up until university, actually. I became absolutely terrified of being met with silence. If I communicated with someone, that silence was absolutely terrifying. And so what would happen, therefore, would be I would, like, if I was starting a conversation with someone, I would raise my voice like this, because I had to make sure that they heard me. They couldn't have not heard me. You know, they will definitely hear this. They won't ignore me. So this really continued into sixth form. I don't really have much to say about sixth form. It wasn't as bad as secondary school. But in terms of me, there were no new developments, and I didn't actually change as a person. So it was actually university when the first changes actually began, but not immediately. I'm sure everyone has memories of Freshers' Week and going out and having fun. My parents were very kind. They knew that I was this hermit and like I didn't go out. So they bought me like a ticket so that I could get into all the events. So it's like, that's really nice. There was only one problem. I hid in my room the entire Freshers' Week with the light out because I didn't want anyone to think I was this loser hiding in their room on Freshers' Week. So the first thing is I wasted my parents' money. Sorry, Mum and Dad. But the most important thing from that is that actually I was so terrified of communicating with people. And I had this whole new set of people I was going to have to meet. It was just too terrifying. I just couldn't do it. And I just crumbled under the pressure of that and I hid. Of course, I was doing a degree. I was doing an English degree, and so I had to meet people naturally. It was going to happen, inevitably. And so at a sort of slug-like pace, you know, I did get to meet people and my confidence increased in little increments. But it was so much trial and error because it was like, well, I'm not very comfortable around people, and this person over here can tell I'm not very comfortable, but they think it's them. They think, oh, he doesn't like me. And this was like the opposite of what I wanted, because it's like, I'm this lonely kid who wants to make friends, and they're getting the message that I'm not actually, I'm hostile towards them in some way, so I hated that. Also, what happened in my first year was I was accused of theft by someone, and in coded language, they basically threatened to beat me up if they saw me outside the halls. So at this point, I was forced to like talk like I never had before. I was like, you know, no, I didn't do this, and I managed to convince them. But what ended up happening was I resented that. I thought, oh, I seem like the weirdo. I seem like the person with something to hide because my communication skills are so bad. So that was essentially, I managed to diffuse the situation, but it just festered this sort of hatred of my terrible communication skills. And what didn't help was, so I became more comfortable with talking to people I was familiar with, but I still had this great anxiety around people who I didn't really know very well. And I encountered this when I was doing my journalism masters. You know, I'm supposed to go and talk to people, random people, and I had this massive anxiety. And what I found was that actually I'm going out and I'm absolutely terrified. It's absolutely debilitating. I can't speak to people. And it damaged my grades. And it meant that all of these things that involved me going out and talking to people, I got a lesser mark on because I just couldn't do it. So at that point, it was just sort of like, well, I'm going to have to do something about this. I mean, I can't just keep letting this go on and on and on, and I'm going to have to really put an action plan into place. So I did. About 5 years ago, I had reached this breaking point, and the way I termed it was, I'm going to kill the introvert. I hate that introvert. I'm going to replace it with an extrovert, and then all my problems are going to be solved. So what I did was I did a number of things. One of the things that I did was I did a bunch of courses. So I did public speaking courses. I did courses for assertiveness so that I could feel comfortable in talking to people and, you know, improving my own skills in that way. I also would ring like drug hotlines, not because I had a drug problem, but it was like I could speak to someone at the end of the line, be like, oh, hey, my friend Nathan's got a drug problem. And it would actually be based somewhat on truth, but the main point of it was that, you know, I was talking to a complete unknown on the other end of the phone and becoming more comfortable in my communication. I also saw professionals just to help open me up and express my feelings. So yeah, what was very interesting was the extrovert came out and my confidence massively increased. But you know, that extrovert had always been buried there. That extrovert had just been crushed under the rubble of really difficult teenage years. And so I embraced myself as this sort of mosaic of different qualities And that's the interesting thing as well. I reevaluated my introverted side, and I decided that actually these qualities give me the ability to go away, to think, and I can reapply that to when I converse with people. And so what's so interesting is when you just, reduce yourself to a single negative quality, it's like you're holding up a building with a twig and then you knock the twig and it all comes crashing down. But once you build your confidence, you feel like this fortress. And it's like someone knocks out a piece of that fortress and you're still standing. So actually what I discovered over time was that the real problem I had was confidence. I was blaming my introversion, and it wasn't that. It was confidence. And if I'd had that when I was younger, I think things would have been totally different. So this is the thing. I think self-love is absolutely inextricable from self-confidence. So you know what? That really terrified boy from when I was younger, all he needed was a bit of love and support. He just needed that confidence to feel comfortable and be able to express himself to people. And what I would say is I've gone from being that boy hiding in his room during Freshers Week, and now I can stand in front of all of you today, which shows that transformation is possible. And I have to also be grateful because, you know what, I've been sharing things with you tonight which I've never told anyone. And that is therefore another step in my own journey. And so yes, I am embracing the whole self. The journey still continues though. I mean, you have to keep working at this, keep working on your confidence, keep working on, feeling comfortable in your own skin. One interesting fact about me, I've fallen in love 3 times in my life. I've never told a single one of those people that I was in love with them. And so, what an opportunity if I find a 4th person. Who knows, my love life's terrible. But if I do, one of my goals would therefore be, surely, to tell them, if I value myself enough, then I should be able to communicate that to them. And so that is another step that I can keep reaching towards. And so the journey doesn't end, but I'm very happy with where I am now, for sure. I would caution, though, there is a difference between, taking your time and inaction. And for a very long time, I was kicking the can down the road, thinking, I'll wake up one day and all of my anxiety problems and all of my difficulties will just disappear. It doesn't work like that. And that is why I recommend to anyone who this resonates with, who suffers, who struggles with their confidence, who maybe feels like a massive introvert, take action as soon as you can. It doesn't have to be really quick. You don't fix these things overnight. I know that. But just wishing, and, I did that for so long, and, it just doesn't work. But remember, this is an effort of, your own personal motivation, but your family and your friends who can provide you the environments where you can build your confidence and really, really help you. You're not alone in this. And I should also add, since I do have quite a lot of experience in this, you're more than welcome to talk to me if any of this resonates and you want any advice or just someone to listen to, I can do that. So yes, please make a plan. If this is something that is bothering you, that you struggle with personally, do something about it. It's so important. And it's so amazing when you suddenly start to feel comfortable in your own skin. So I'm going to end this by quoting The Universal by Blur, which is my favourite Blur song. If you do all of this stuff, it really, really, really could happen. It happened to me. So keep building your confidence, work on that. And you know what? If you do that, you can release your potential, all of that potential that's still hiding in there. Thank you for listening.